Cain Dingle, Jeff Hordley, has finally disclosed the extent of his aggressive prostate cancer diagnosis to wife Moira, Natalie J. Robb, in an emotional episode of Emmerdale. The installment entirely focused on the Dingle patriarch's ongoing turmoil, with the latter half being a two-hander between the two characters. It's been a troubling time for the family, which kicked off when Moira was framed for double murder and human trafficking. She's since been imprisoned, and with evidence stacked up against her, it doesn't look like she's going to be freed anytime soon. Cain is also at risk of losing their homestead, Butler's Farm, which is now partially owned by scheming Joe Tate, Ned Porteous. He wants to acquire the other 50%, and will seemingly stop at nothing to get his hands on it. In the meantime, Cain has been suffering in silence. Only granddaughter Sarah Sugden, Katie Hill, GP and friend Liam Kavanagh, Johnny McPherson, and unlikely ally Graham Foster, Andrew Scarborough, know that he will have to undergo a radical prostatectomy and radiotherapy to rid the disease. Moira thought that the cancer was under control, and that doctors would be monitoring it. In today's episode, Cain contemplated giving up and handing over the rest of Butler's to Joe. It would be a mammoth decision to make, but one that would ultimately save him from financial ruin. He then headed to the pub, where Sarah's husband Jacob Gallagher, Joe Warrenplant, urged her to open up about why she had been involved in some recent car thefts with her grandfather. She declined to explain, knowing that it would betray Cain's wish to keep his prostate cancer under wraps. Cain could see how much his secret was beginning to impact others, and wandered off to the gents. He was alarmed to see blood in the toilet bowl, and made a last-minute appointment with Liam. Fortunately, he revealed that the blood was as a result of a urinary tract infection, something which he may be more susceptible to because of his illness. He once again encouraged his friend to speak to Moira and be honest. In the prison, she broke down after hearing the truth. She jumped up to hug her husband, but was warned to sit down and break contact by the prison guards. Moira was even more stunned to hear that they could soon lose both their home and business, and that Cain's reckless behavior against Joe was the catalyst for their feud. She told him to put his health first, and to come clean to their sons Kyle and Isaac about everything. Given Kyle lost his mum Amy last year, Cain feared that it would have a horrible effect on the youngster's well-being. Moira reasoned that the Dingles had dealt with cancer before, and their huge support network would help him through the difficult months ahead. Will Cain heed her advice? In a powerful and emotionally charged episode of Emmerdale, viewers watched as Cain Dingle finally revealed the devastating truth about his aggressive prostate cancer to his imprisoned wife Moira Dingle. The special installment focused entirely on Cain's personal battle, offering an unusually intimate look into the mind of one of the show's toughest characters. For years, Cain has been portrayed as a hardened survivor, someone who rarely shows fear or vulnerability. But in this episode, the mask slipped, exposing a man overwhelmed by illness, secrets, and the fear of losing everything he loves. By the end of the episode, the truth that Cain had been hiding finally came out in a heartbreaking prison conversation that may change the future of the Dingle family forever. A family already in crisis. The Dingle family has endured more than their fair share of tragedy over the years, but the latest crisis has been especially brutal. It all began when Moira Dingle was framed for a shocking crime involving double murder and human trafficking. Despite her desperate attempts to prove her innocence, the evidence against her seemed overwhelming. As a result, Moira was sent to prison, leaving the family farm and her loved ones behind. For Cain, the situation has been nothing short of devastating. Not only is his wife locked away, but the future of their home, Butler's Farm, is now hanging by a thread. And as if that wasn't enough, Cain has also been quietly fighting a battle with a serious illness. A battle he has kept hidden from almost everyone. The secret Cain has been carrying. Weeks earlier, Cain received a diagnosis that shook him to his core. Doctors confirmed that he had aggressive prostate cancer. The news was terrifying. But rather than tell his family immediately, Cain chose to keep the truth to himself. Only a small handful of people knew the reality of his condition. His granddaughter Sarah Sugden discovered the secret first. Soon after, Cain's friend and GP Liam Kavanagh became involved in his treatment plan. And unexpectedly, Graham Foster also became aware of the situation. But everyone else, including Moira, remained in the dark. To Moira, Cain had reassured that the cancer wasn't serious. He claimed doctors were simply monitoring it. But the truth was far more frightening. Cain would soon need a radical prostatectomy, followed by radiotherapy, in order to fight the disease. Joe Tate's ruthless plan. While Cain tried to cope with his diagnosis, another threat was growing closer. The calculating Joe Tate had already secured a 50% stake in Butler's farm. But that wasn't enough for him. Joe wanted the entire property, and he was prepared to use any method necessary to get it. Tension between the two men had been simmering for weeks, especially after Cain's reckless actions escalated their feud. Joe began using the farm's financial struggles as leverage. With Moira imprisoned and Cain overwhelmed by medical worries, the situation seemed perfect for Joe to strike. If Cain couldn't keep the farm running, Joe could easily take control of the remaining share. For the first time in years, Cain began to consider the unthinkable, giving up the farm entirely. A moment of defeat. One morning, Cain stood alone on the land he had fought so hard to protect. The rolling fields of Butler's farm stretched out before him. Every corner held memories of the life he and Moira had built together. But now, all Cain could see was uncertainty. Bills were piling up. The farm's finances were deteriorating, and his health was becoming increasingly fragile. For a moment, Cain considered surrendering. If he sold Moira's remaining share to Joe Tate, it would solve many immediate problems. The farm's debts could be cleared. The legal pressure would ease, and Cain could focus on his health. But the cost would be enormous. Selling the farm would mean losing a piece of the Dingle family's legacy. Trouble at the Woolpack. Later that day, Cain visited the Woolpack, hoping to escape the constant pressure weighing on his mind. But the pub wasn't exactly peaceful. Jacob Gallagher was confronting Sarah about her recent involvement in a string of car thefts. Jacob wanted answers. Why had she been involved in such reckless behavior? Why wouldn't she explain what was really happening? Sarah refused to tell him the truth, because doing so would expose Cain's illness, something she knew he desperately wanted to keep private. As the argument grew more heated, Cain watched from a distance. Seeing the tension between them filled him with guilt. His secret was beginning to affect everyone around him. People were getting hurt simply because he refused to be honest. Unable to bear it any longer, Cain quietly walked away. A frightening discovery. In the pub's bathroom, Cain experienced a terrifying moment. When he looked into the toilet bowl, he saw blood. His heart immediately began racing. Was the cancer getting worse? Was his body beginning to fail? Fear flooded his thoughts. For a man who rarely panics, the moment felt overwhelming. Without wasting any time, Cain contacted Liam Kavanagh and arranged an urgent appointment. A small relief. Fortunately, the news from Liam was not as catastrophic as Cain had feared. After examining him, Liam explained that the blood was most likely caused by a urinary tract infection. Because of his existing illness, Cain was more vulnerable to infections like this. While the situation required treatment, it wasn't a sign that the cancer had suddenly worsened. Still, Liam took the opportunity to raise a serious concern. Cain could not continue hiding his illness forever. Keeping such a huge secret was taking a heavy emotional toll. More importantly, Moira deserved to know the truth. Liam urged Cain to visit her and finally come clean. The prison visit. Later that day, Cain made the difficult journey to the prison. Sitting across from Moira Dingle, he looked more vulnerable than ever before. Moira immediately sensed something was wrong. Cain seemed distant, exhausted, almost defeated. At first, he struggled to speak. But eventually, the words came out. Cain admitted that his cancer was far more serious than he had originally told her. Moira's devastating reaction. Moira was stunned. For weeks, she had believed Cain's reassurances that everything was under control. Now she realized he had been hiding the truth. Tears filled her eyes as the full reality sank in. Overcome with emotion, Moira instinctively jumped up to hug her husband. But prison guards quickly intervened, ordering her to sit back down and maintain distance. The moment only added to the heartbreak of the situation. Separated by prison rules and glass barriers, the couple faced one of the most painful conversations of their lives. More bad news. But Cain's confession didn't end there. He also revealed the financial crisis threatening Butler's farm. Moira was horrified to learn that the farm, their home and livelihood, could soon be lost. Even worse, Cain admitted that his feud with Joe Tate had played a role in creating the problem. Moira listened in disbelief. So much had been happening while she was locked away. Moira's advice. Despite her shock, Moira quickly focused on what mattered most. Cain's health. She told him firmly that he needed to stop trying to handle everything alone. The farm could wait. The feud with Joe could wait. But his life was far more important. Moira also insisted that Cain must tell their sons Kyle Winchester and Isaac Dingle the truth. Cain immediately resisted the idea. Kyle had already suffered enough heartbreak after losing his mother, Amy Wyatt, the previous year. Cain feared that another devastating revelation could seriously harm the boy's well-being. Strength of the Dingles. But Moira reminded him of something important. The Dingle family had faced cancer before, and every time they had stood together. No matter how difficult the situation became, the family's strength and loyalty helped them survive. Moira believed the same support network would help Cain now. He didn't have to fight this battle alone. A question for the future. As the prison visit came to an end, Cain sat quietly, absorbing everything Moira had said. For the first time in weeks, he had shared the truth. And while the road ahead remained uncertain, one thing was clear. Secrets could no longer protect him. Only honesty, and the support of his family, could help him through the fight that lay ahead. The question now is simple. Will Cain finally listen to Moira's advice? Or will the stubborn Dingle patriarch continue trying to face the battle alone? One thing is certain. For Emmerdale viewers, Cain's cancer storyline is only just beginning, and the emotional journey ahead could be one of the soap's most powerful yet.